So good to be here with you today. It's a wonderful day here. Yesterday, as I listened to the speakers and participated in the event, this thought struck me, that the power of a group is a function of the purity of its motives. And if that's true, this is a very powerful place to be. I feel like I want to be a better man, so thank you for your influence on me. I want to share with you today a principle of leadership and a principle of life that is so profound in its effect and so pervasive in its influence that it literally shapes your world. So if you consider yourself a leader, this will define the focus of your leadership. If there were one thing you could do that would dramatically improve the quality of your relationships, the strength of your teams, or the effectiveness of your organization in accomplishing its mission, this one principle will be that focus. So that's what we're going to do today. That's what we'll focus on, and I need you to get ready for that kind of a journey. So you're going to need a couple of things, something to write on and something to write with. The second thing you're going to need is a learning buddy. So look to your left and right and find the most intelligent person seated adjacent to you. Buddy up with them and let's go. Tough choice. All right, everybody got a buddy? Feel free to move if you need to, but all right. Well, let me begin here. The most crucial conversation of my life, at least up to that point, took place on December 28th, 2009. Now, I'm going to change some cosmetic features of this story for reasons that will become immediately obvious to you as I share. But the conversation actually didn't begin December 28th. It began 10 years earlier. I met Patrick when he was 12 years old. He was a young scout, and I was a scout leader. I got to know him well. We played a lot, and over a couple of years, hung out quite a bit, camped a lot. I had a lot of fun times together. And then after a couple of years, he disappeared. And I became concerned. So I started asking some of his colleagues about him, and they seemed a little offish about answering. Finally, I cornered one, and I asked what happened to Patrick. Well, he hung his head, and he said, I think Patrick is doing drugs. Well, I was hurt and worried, and I tried to find Patrick, but he avoided me. And over the next year or so, I finally gave up. It's now 10 years later. It's a Saturday in 2009. I'm sitting on my couch when there's a knock at the door. I move to the front door, I open it up, and there's this bedraggled, kind of weather-beaten, worn-looking character standing there. His mouth was agape. He said nothing, just stared at me, and I was a little uncomfortable, but finally, I saw something around the eyes and then eventually around the cheekbones, and suddenly this recognition washed over me. I clapped him on the shoulders. I said, Patrick, it's so good to see you. I dragged him in and dropped him on the couch. And I said, catch me up. Over the next hour or so, he poured forth this story of torment, of bad decisions, of addiction, of jail time, eventually prison time. And then he got to his point. He said, I'm tired of this. I want to turn my life around. And I don't really have many people I can come to for advice. But I always respected you. And I thought, perhaps. And I smiled and said warmly to him, I'll be happy to help. Over the next hour, we talked about some of his challenges. We created a plan. He needed to get a job. He had fines to pay off. And so he did. He got a job, began paying off his fines, checked in with me regularly, and was making wonderful progress. About 3 months later, he came and said, I'm working in a minimum wage job. If I had transportation, I could get to this construction job about 40 miles away. So we brainstormed another plan, and I co-signed for a loan, and he got an old beater truck, and he got this construction job, and he started making progress, and things were going really well, and then he disappeared. Now, I didn't connect the dots, but in about October of that year, our house was burglarized. And it was troubling to me for many reasons. Of course, this violation of having somebody intrude on our sacred space, but secondly, I worried for the security of my family. And so my wife and I went and got surveillance equipment so that we could feel safe and secure, particularly while I traveled. It's hard to describe to you the feelings I had when in November of that year our house was burglarized for the second time. But this time there was evidence of the burglary. I was able to watch Patrick go into the backyard, drop into a window well, and emerge later with some of our valuables. Now it's December 28th of 2009. I'm driving not far from our house, and I see Patrick walking along the sidewalk. So I pulled up next to him, I rolled down the window, and I said, "Hey, Patrick." When he recognized who it was, his eyes got big, and he seated himself down as though he was about to sprint. I said, "Patrick, it's okay. You don't need to run." I said, "I just want to talk. All I want to do is talk." Well, finally, his shoulders slumped as though in defeat. He came and opened the door, sat in the car. We drove back to my house, went down into the basement, and sat in our chairs. About 30 years ago, as we began our research, we asked a question. The question that's driven our focus, that's driven our attention, is, are there a few moments of what we call disproportionate influence? Are there some moments in your life, in your leadership, and in your organization that matter more than any others? And if so, what are those moments? Are there just a few which, if you behave, if you show up in a certain way, there's a dramatically different outcome in the quality of your relationships, in the performance of a team, and even in the performance of an entire organization? We're wondering, are there a few moments that matter more than any others? And time again, we found that there are moments defined by 3 dimensions that have a disproportionate effect on the durability of your marriage, the happiness of your marriage, the strength of your executive team, the performance of your organization in executing on its mission. And these are those dimensions. First, these are moments where there's some issue that's very high stakes to you. Second, you come into these moments expecting somebody else to disagree with you. That causes you to behave differently than you otherwise would. And finally, these are moments of strong emotion, triggered emotions. So those 3 dimensions, high stakes, opposing opinions, strong emotions, cause these moments to be different than any other. And the effect of how you behave in those moments carries on long past that moment. So we're down in the basement of my house, and Patrick is very quiet. And I said, "Patrick, there's something I need to show you. But before I do, I need you to hear something." He was looking at the ground, and I said, "And Patrick, I apologize for asking this, but I need you to look me in the eyes. I just need to know that you hear this." Finally, with great effort, he lifted his eyes up and locked them on mine. I said, "Patrick, do you know that I love you?" His eyes immediately filled with tears, and he said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Good." I said, "And Patrick, do you know that I would never do anything if it weren't in your best interests? Do you know that?" His lips started to quiver, and he said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Good." Then I said, "There's something I need you to look at." And I showed him the evidence, and he started heaving and sobbing. And I said, "Patrick, I don't think I would be a friend to you if I didn't let you be held accountable for what you did to me and my family. I intend to share this with the police, and it'll be up to you how you address that." And then through chokes and sobs, he said, "I know I need to go to jail, but will you be there for me when I get out?" And I said, "Yes, I will." If it's possible for me to tell somebody that I'm helping him get sent to jail and he can hear it, what else is possible for us to discuss? Ladies and gentlemen, the myth that we can't both tell the truth and keep a friend is at the heart of most of the dysfunction, most of what keeps us from achieving our potential.